So the bull market for gold and silver has been confirmed. And there are people out there who would say, I guess that's what they want you to think. But whoever they are doing a pretty good job. $2,329. It's a big number for gold, and the trend is clearly up until proven otherwise. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to see pullbacks. We always do, but there's no logical reason now to think that gold isn't going higher and going higher soon. It's all happening. It feels like silver's finally waking up too, with price above $27 and arguably even more room to gain than gold. Now, I don't make that argument personally, but it's always possible. Now, I just bring it up because the conditions that I look for with silver are here. Take that for whatever it's worth. But the thing that we can clearly say at this point is that the bull market for gold and silver has been confirmed. Before we get into it though, if you're looking for gold or silver, check out SD Bullion. New buyers even get gold or silver for spot. That's sdbullion.com/new. So where do prices go from here? Well, it depends on who you ask, but the thing about a price breakout is that by definition, we've broken out of this conventional forecasting model, so nobody really knows. Now, I've talked to two types of financial analysts just in the last few days, and I've gotten two types of guesses. The first type of guess comes from traditional financial advisors, so asset managers, and I've been speaking with a few of them, and what you get from an analyst that has more going on than just gold and silver is just a general low-level appreciation. So gold and silver on the rise is a bonus. It's definitely not the actual show for them. And that shouldn't be any kind of surprise. You're rarely going to hear any kind of long-term enthusiasm or advice to get in on it from an asset manager focused on the big picture. Now, ask a traditional asset manager why gold is on a run, and you're going to get basic comments on macro environment. What's happening right now is what's pushing it up. The second type of guess comes from the gold bug. So if you've listened to an analyst who does focus on precious metals, not just somebody who promotes an organization that sells them, you've probably heard the possibility that we're in the midst of a longer-term bull market cycle. Now, one analyst that I've just talked to reiterated something he said in the past, that we're about a year into, I think he had mentioned a 9-year cycle. Whatever it is, he mentioned the possibility for big growth into the next decade. And that kind of view is a lot different than gold and silver simply being up at the moment, the kind of view that I was getting from some of the normal asset managers, the people I talked to over this past week. But I can't tell you which one is right. And I try not to lose too much time worrying about it, because the history that I've experienced with gold is that it's either up or it's way up. Now, just to temper that a little bit, I've been around in years where gold didn't go up, and overall a 5% gain, if you looked at that as some kind of average for the slower times, maybe that doesn't seem real exciting, but that has always beat most of the savings options that are out there. So 5% annual increase might be up, but we saw 14% gains in 2023, and that felt like way up. Well, so far this year in 2024, we've already gone up another 14%. So the question from some is going to be, how high will we actually go? Well, one thing to consider here is that Friday's run, that's not the trend. It's definitely not the trend that I mentioned earlier. Friday's run was wild enthusiasm, more like speculative volatility on top of the trend. And we could easily see that given up. We could see that pull back because we're still on the wrong side of the Fed rate pivot, and that's a catalyst that's going to give a strong push for gold, and something really that this rally has been built on. Now, my personal guess for 2024 highs has definitely gone up. I thought we'd be seeing 2350 to 2400 late this year. Now I think it could be a lot higher. 2500 doesn't seem crazy at all. So I'm not the only one making these guesses. If we look back at the precious metals analysts, the people who focus on it, and the promoters, the gold bugs, the silver bugs, they have much more enthusiastic predictions. 2,500 is the new 2,350, but you'll hear $3,000, $8,000, $10,000, and those predictions always get a lot louder in the midst of a run. So to me, that's overconfidence, something that I would never plan around. But if you're on this channel, you've probably seen those too. And I would say that I'd be happy to see those kinds of prices, but the conditions needed to get gold to $8,000 an ounce or up anytime soon would probably include general chaos. And as a counterpoint to some of the wilder predictions, the traditional asset managers that I've been speaking to, they say gold is overbought. Now, none of them gave a price prediction, and really, I've never found an asset manager who thinks in terms of price forecasts. They think up or they think down, trends, not predictions. They're buying and selling all the time on price action, or they're holding it long term and they're simply rebalancing over time. So gold is not the main show to them. Just for the record, I'm also not pushing that conversation in any kind of weird way, telling them about the channel even, but none of them included central bank buying or government debt as a factor in why they thought it was on a run. Maybe they weren't getting too deep into it either, but they just mentioned war and rate speculation. So where does that leave us? Well, you get to choose your story here. If you've been planning for gold going up, you're probably plenty happy to see gold going way up. It's even easy to get drawn into those ideas of it going parabolic. But like I said, I've moved my forecast up slightly. So 2,400, of course, seems likely. 2,500 seems possible. But I'm not planning around it with the way that I'm buying. So even $3,000 in the next 12 months all of a sudden seems possible, but from that planning perspective, I'm just not changing my buying plans around that kind of hope. I'm not speculating that all-time highs are just the beginning, like some are saying, but just to be clear about what I'm actually doing, I'm continuing to buy gold based on past performance. I assume that yeah, it's going to gain over the long term, and we're going to see a little bit more excitement over the short term, but anything beyond that guess is going to require further proof. I'm going to need to see something before I change the way I'm buying, the way I'm acting. But I did actually buy some silver this year, and if I had a chance to talk to myself from last year, I would have had two surprises. The fact that, yeah, I bought some silver, and also just this early start of the price run beginning in December of 2023 rather than the fall of 2024. So mostly the surprise has been in the timing. Okay, let's call it good there. Let us know in the comments what you're up to, whether you're buying, you're holding, you're not sure. Let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit the like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.